Good evening. It's 10 p.m. in Banjul, and you're watching us live from the Gambia Radio and Television Services. And this is the news coming to you straight from Banjul, also coming up. His Excellency President Adama Barrow has wrapped up his 4-day visit to Equatorial Guinea with the signing of 4 bilateral agreements with his counterpart, President Obiang Ngoma Mbasongo. The Gambia's Foreign Affairs Ministry announces the release and handing over of 12 Gambians to the Gambian Association in Libya after serving a 1-year jail term. The Gambia Standards Bureau inaugurates a technical subcommittee with the mandate to develop standards on onion, sweet potato, tomato, and chili pepper. And in sports, Olympic Africa of Serkunda East clinches the Senegambia Volleyball Club championship title after defeating their counterparts Asfa of Senegal 3-0 at a final played in Banjul. And elsewhere, Kenya's coastal communities try to stop the flow of plastic waste along the shores of the ocean. Well, these and many other stories coming ahead. I am Fatu Yanimbai. The news in detail, and we begin with the presidency, where His Excellency President Adama Barrow has wrapped up his 4-day visit to Equatorial Guinea, holding talks with President Obiang Ngoma Mbasongo at the Presidential Palace in Malabo. The two countries signed 4 cooperation agreements to build the foundations for strong and mutually beneficial relations. Momodu Jallo tells us more.
President, His Excellency Adama Barrow and First Lady Fatouba Barrow were received at the Presidential Palace by President Teodoro Obiang Nguema Mbasongo and First Lady Constancia Mange. This marked the highest point of President Barrow's engagements in Equatorial Guinea, where he met President Obiang and members of his government. Two leaders held a tete-a-tete which lasted for more than an hour. When they emerged, President Barrow and his host presided over the signing of 4 cooperation agreements. The 2 foreign affairs ministers, Dr. Mamadou Tangara and Simeon Oyon Ange, signed the documents, which include a joint communique on the establishment of diplomatic relations between the Gambia and Equatorial Guinea, a cooperation framework agreement, a memorandum of understanding on diplomatic consultations between the foreign ministries, and an agreement on reciprocal exemption of visas for holders of diplomatic and service passports. The two leaders later spoke of the growing relations between the two countries, with President Obiang thanking his guest, saying the visit will lay the foundations for fruitful cooperation. He called for a new intra-African partnership to end dependence on the developed world, hailing the visit as a step in the right direction, as it will promote the socio-economic development of the two countries. He revealed that the two countries will exchange delegations as soon as feasible to implement the agreements. President Barrow expressed appreciation to President Obiang for his constructive role in resolving the political impasse in 2016, describing him as a great Pan-African leader with a strong vision of development and peace.
We maintain peace, stability. Without peace, we cannot develop our continent. We are now ready for moving forward. There is a saying, if you want to move fast, you go alone. So if you want to go far, you move together.
President Barrow also expressed the Gambia's readiness for a new partnership, arguing that Africa needs to look inwards as a continent in order to attain its development priorities. Later in the afternoon, President Obiang and First Lady Constancia Mange hosted a lunch for the visiting Gambian leader and his delegation. Speaking during the event, the two leaders renewed their joint commitment to take the relationship to the strategic level. The president and delegation later left Malabo, having laid the foundation for the establishment of a strong relationship with Equatorial Guinea. Modu Jallo, GRTS News.
Well, you can follow the highlights of the president's engagement in Malabo after the news here in GRTS. Now, moving on, the management and board of directors of Islamic Cultural Center for Women and Children, also called Yadaliu English and Arabic School, on Sunday, organized an international Islamic conference in commemoration of 25 years of existence for the bilingual school, which serves as a center of excellence in the country. Khadija Tujala attended the conference, and she now tells us more.
Cultural Center for Women and Children and Yadali English and Arabic School for the past 25 years, under the leadership of Aja Maimuna Savage, has enrolled many people who now occupy key positions in society. Sheikh Ibrahim Jaju of the Supreme Islamic Council hailed Aja Maimuna Savage for her education towards molding and inculcating good moral and Islamic values in children and the society. For her part, Ajamai Savage, proprietress of the school, expressed gratitude to the Almighty Allah for bringing ease in her path to impact lives. The female Islamic scholar expressed appreciation for the received from the children, parents, staff, the management, and board of directors.
Maria Value English and Arabic School was established in 1997 with only 10 students, 2 teachers, and 1 office staff. But today, alhamdulillah, we have 18 classes and 45 members of staff, which includes both English and Arabic teachers, guards, cleaners, nannies, etc. The able headmistress of the school must be commended for her hard work. Alhamdulillah.
A high-powered delegation from State House was present. Imam Alhaji Mustafa Jallo shared words of wisdom on behalf of President Adama Barrow. Imam Jallo commended Aja Maimuna Savage for complementing government's effort in the education sector and the propagation of Islam, explaining how it contributes to the enhancement of peace and stability of the country. The guest speaker of the occasion, an Islamic scholar from Senegal, Aja Fatou Bintou Diop, was given a warm welcome at Banjul International Airport. Delivering her statement under the theme, Discipline, Acquiring Good Islamic Moral in Society, Madam Job described Ajamai as a mentor who inspires many in the Gambia and Senegal in the promotion of Islam, citing the number of people who have passed through the school. Dilating on the theme, Madam Job called on people and their families to cherish the teachings of Islam and sunnahs of Prophet, peace be upon him, share and care for the less privileged, accept people for whom they are, have good deeds, be humble, patient and perseverance, love one another in a peaceful manner, which this, she said, is key to success and stability. Living a good and respectful life, she further explained, will help one acquire the love of God without regrets on the day of judgment. The ceremony also saw the presentation of the new board members, school management and staff. Alhaji Usman Dia, board chairman, and Amin Dur staff both hailed Ajamai Savage for the trust bestowed on them, highlighting that they are committed to ensuring discipline and quality education are provided in the school. Ustaz Ibrahim Acham, on behalf of a range of scholars, delved on the topics, knowledge is power. He reiterated the importance of education, whilst commended Ajamai for establishing a school reshaping Muslim children. Khadijatu Jallo, reporting for GRTS News.
And elsewhere, the Gambia Standards Bureau has inaugurated a technical subcommittee with the mandate to develop standards on onion, sweet potato, tomato, and chili pepper. The standards being developed by the Bureau is supported by the West Africa Competitiveness Program, a project which is implemented by the United Nations Industrial Development Organization and funded by the European Union. Aisa Tukete has the rest.
Is to standardize all products and services consumed or produced in the Gambia. So any product that is produced in the Gambia here, it's our mandate to standardize the product. In the event the Gambia don't have the capacity to produce the product, but we are importing it, it is also our mandate to standardize that product or services.
And exactly that as a mandate, but goes with promotion of that mandate. Standardization is the main drive. Onion is the focus at the moment, as agriculture remains the main provider of food and income for its population. In it comes vegetable production, which contributes up to 4% of the GDP. Although many crops being grown in the country, but onion has recently seen a remarkable attention from communities. Given its significance and contribution, its standardization becomes key for stakeholders to be able to measure its value, taking cue from countries in the sub-region. WACOMP is the main driver for this particular cause, whose focus is to increase competitiveness through enhanced quality and compliance along the onion value chain.
A value chain component, and we have also a quality infrastructure component. Yeah, on the value chain component, we are going to support the construction of storage facilities, as you already said. It's something very important, yeah, because this, of course, relates also to standards. No, we are also going to equip, and we are in the process of equipping also different institutions among your institutions with some field laboratory equipment, which is, you know, highly important, because you need to have the right equipment in order to have capacity building, in order to have, you know, conformity assessment and different standardization achievements. Otherwise, you know, without this equipment or without different storage facilities, it might not be possible.
The project is under the implementation of UNIDO, but funded by the European Union. This garden is part of the project, which is to develop standards for the onion value chain and includes others such as potato, chili pepper, and the rest.
Why is it that the onions that we produce here cannot even sustain us as a country to the extent that we are still importing onions? And why is it that we cannot produce onions here and export as other countries are doing? So standardization can help us address this. Why are we producing tomatoes and the tomatoes are getting rotten? We cannot even have market for them. We have pepper, which are competing with some other local species. And we have our sweet potatoes here. We have abundant land to produce them. Why is it that we cannot be a country that does not import these products? A country that does not import the chips of these potatoes, but rather an exporter. We produce enough and we export. And in doing this, therefore, the production of these horticultural products needs to be standardized. The processes at which it is being done need to be standardized. If we standardize all the processes, we will be able to standardize the product.
Given this group of people who form the food and agriculture component, their contribution to the process is significant towards the successful implementation of the project, which is said to be collective. For GRTS News, this is Aissatou Keita.
And over now to a press release from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, International Cooperation and Gambians Abroad, which reads, in April 2022, the ministry engaged the Libyan authorities to release and hand over 12 Gambians who have already served one-year jail term to the Gambian Association in Libya for repatriation to join their families. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs, in collaboration with the association, wishes to inform the public that the 12 Gambian nationals have finally been released on the 28th of May 2022 without charge or condition. Foreign Affairs Ministry further assured the families that with the support of IOM, the 12 migrants will be repatriated on the next available chartered flight through IOM's Assisted Voluntary Return and Reintegration Program, which will equally provide them with medical and psychological support. Similarly, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs avails itself of this opportunity to renew to the Libyan embassy in Banjul the assurances of its highest consideration and support. The release end. And away from that, drug law enforcement officers and partners have taken up the mantle to implement the ban on public smoking and the retail selling of tobacco products. In a press conference at the Central Medical Store in Kotu on Monday, the task force, which include the police and environmentalists, displayed the packets of cigarettes and shisha hookahs confiscated in shops, restaurants, and bars in the Greater Banjul area. Alajimbai tells us more.
Just had a glimpse of that great future it is working towards, the implementation of the ban on public smoking. These packets of cigarettes and shisha are samples of the plenty in store at the medical drug store in Kotu, seized by drug law enforcement officers, police, and environmentalists from shops, bars, and restaurants in the Greater Banjul area. It was day 2 of the crackdown on public smoking, which also prohibits retail selling of cigarettes. Commissioner Pasamba Bojang, Head of Operations, Monitoring and Evaluation at the Drug Law Enforcement Agency, said they will intensify the operation across the country.
As far as I'm concerned, shisha is a no-go area for me. And we need to do add our effort. If you go to the TDA today, you see our sisters as young as 14 years, this Saturday, 14 years, 12 years, using this shisha. And you find the proprietors of this institution telling you that Limo using business we cannot. If we are allowing our sisters at the age of 14 using shisha, what is this country? What are we expecting from this country?
Shisha is a cigarette product, and the chemical composition in it is worse than cigarette, said Omar Baji, Program Officer Non-Communicable Disease, who doubles as the national focal person for tobacco control.
The chemical composition in shisha is even worse than this amount. And the studies have shown that if we are exposed, like we are here as a group, and that we are smoking shisha, because normally it's not an individual. Yeah, individuals sometimes, but mostly when you go to the restaurant, it's a group. And if you are exposed to that group, only 1 hour, it means that you smoke 5 packets of cigarettes.
Sefo Singate is the Senior Program Officer, Non-Communicable Disease, Ministry of Health.
The coal that is used in shisha is not just an ordinary coal. It's not just the coal that we use in our markets or in our homes to cook. No, this is a mined coal, which is rich in metal, that when this burns, it releases into the shisha and it gets into our blood, poison the blood system. This is the coal. This is why you don't see them with any other coal. This is the special coal that is used in burning the shisha.
Tobacco use in the country is on the rise. The latest survey has it that over 16% of the population is smoking, and the youths are more involved. This is a concern to the government, hence the introduction of the Tobacco Control Act, which the stakeholders are now determined to implement to the letter. Sanjali Traore, Deputy Director of Health Promotion and Education.
We need to implement the PAP. And these are the 3 areas that we are going to embark on, are very important because if you want to cut down the mortality and morbidity resulting from tobacco smoke, we have to ensure that we have smoke-free environment.
The Tobacco Control Act don't only prohibit public smoking, but bans the open display of the products at selling points. The Act also prohibits the selling of cigarettes that don't have the nationally accepted graphic designs and the use of a child under 18 to buy cigarettes. The Act also banned the retail selling of the product. Alajimbai, GRTS News.
And now the Bundung Maternal and Child Health Hospital on Sunday received an assortment of medical items from a charity called the Roots Health Services based in the United States of America. Senabu Jane was there and she filed in this report.
Health Services aims to promote better health care delivery in the Gambia through networking, mentorship, medical mission, human resource development in collaboration with individuals and entities representing the The Charitable Health Services, Lang Conte, shared what the donation included.
These donations consist of 16,000 pairs of sterile surgical gloves, of both latex and non-latex gloves, and 100 boxes of surgical sutures, which are absorbent and non-absorbent sutures. Will count about hundreds of individual sutures to 1,000. It is difficult to put an exact value to these donations. However, we can estimate its value to be anywhere around $125,000 to $150,000, which is over $6 million. Ibu Cham, Suleiman Jobate, Winifred Sribe, and I are all anesthesia providers working in the United States of America. We all share the love for this country and the willingness to help in improving its healthcare through both voluntary clinical services and collaborating and educating current and future healthcare providers here. Hence, we formed an organization called Root Health Services. And these items and books have been distributed to the hospitals in the Greater Banjul area. We have devoted our personal resources in obtaining and shipping these items here to the Gambia.
CEO of the Bundung Maternal and Child Health Hospital, Dr. Mamadi Cham, dilated on the importance of the donated items, noting that they will immensely complement the efforts of government.
These hospital and health centers were identified because of the deliveries they identify and they conduct annually. And it could be noted, you will agree with me, that it's only CSI that doesn't conduct deliveries. So, but being a hospital, we included it in because they do some surgical activities. May I use this opportunity to thank all those here present and also the donors for not forgetting home. Some of these things could be very expensive if we are to buy these things. And 16,000 surgical gloves is huge amount of money. So on behalf of Bundung and all the other health facilities, I thank you and God bless you all.
The Deputy Director of Health Services, Dr. Momodu T. Nyasi, who deputized the Minister for Health, thanked the Roots Health Services for their timely gesture and said the donated items will be judiciously utilized.
The kind of support we are receiving today to support our health facilities will definitely go a long way to improve our health service delivery. And on behalf of the Minister of Health, I would like to thank our colleagues from Roots Health Services for their support they have been doing. And I pray for all the members of the Roots Health Service Association for them to have good strength to make sure that they continue to support the country through the Ministry of Health for a longer period. As I said, these products, as I said, we have a good leadership in the country, in the Ministry of Health, and Dr. Chan with his colleagues leading the health service delivery will make sure that these material givens will be judiciously used for the benefits of our people.
Zainabu Janjani for GRTS News.
And now Riders for Health, the Gambia has handed over dozens of motorcycles to the Ministry of Health for onward delivery to field workers in the Upper River region. Now, Lumeni reports it comes at a time the old fleet needed replacement in a region where a two-wheel mobility is needed to access the hard-to-reach communities for health.
Riders for Health is indeed riding for health. Driving on the motor, distance and terrain shouldn't be a barrier to health. The NGO has once again demonstrated that by providing 30 motorbikes for health field workers in the Upper River region. 20 of them were gifts from the Davidson Harley Foundation through Wheels for Life. The bikes are extremely important in speedy and quality healthcare service delivery. Gibril Sow, a public health worker stationed at Fatoto, explained the differences the bikes can bring in the job.
Looking at the area where I am presently, Fatoto Health Center, we are covering a lot of communities, over 40-something villages. And then looking at Bolibana, Picardus, where those places are located is almost 37 kilometers to 40 kilometers away from where we are. And in most cases, for us to reach there with this vehicle is always a problem. But with this motorbike at hand, it's definitely going to enhance our service delivery, and it's going to make life very, very easy for us, because accessibility will be something that will be in place, and it's definitely going to help us to meet our people that we are serving. In every week, I can say we are on this RCH service also, whereby we go and give RCH services to clients at other communities. So it is also going to help us with regard to that aspect, because in most cases, for a vehicle to reach to that particular place is definitely a problem.
Overwhelmed with joy, Ibrahim Aballe, the regional health worker for the Upper River region, promised the motorbikes will be used judiciously for improved national health and challenge the beneficiaries to keep them well.
In the past, there has not been any forum that we have attended where people would not complain about their motorcycles. Almost best part of the motorcycles were off the road. Now that we have this fleet changed completely, I think this is a foregone conclusion. The people that are going to use these motorbikes, these are the tools that they would use to link them between the communities and then the basic health services. This is very important. Without these motorbikes, the jobs cannot be done effectively well.
Usman Yabo is the board chair at Riders for Health, the Gambia.
This is a contract between us and Ministry of Health and government at large. We are obliged to provide machines that would strengthen the health sector by ensuring that health workers have the real material, the appropriate materials to be able to deliver health or medications to the people who need it. And you cannot do that, as somebody said, in the absence of this motorbike.
Fatou Kinesi, the education director at the Upper River region, said the government recognizes riders' stance on health.
Transportation is a key determinant for success in all service delivery sectors, especially health and education. And for such a big, like a grand gesture to come from Riders for Health, I don't even have words to express what it means for governor, the government, and the people of URR. Because one of the indicators for health is how far it reaches even the remotest community. To have the health directorate here is great, but what about the furthest communities in URR? How do we get them the supplies they need? How do we get them the intervention they need, timely intervention at that, in order to have access to good healthcare or quality healthcare? This is one means of it, transportation. So on behalf of Governor, I want to urge the recipients to really take care of this.
Riders for Health, the Gambia, is managing the transportation system for the Ministry of Health, a contract signed in 2002. Louis Mendy, GRTS.
And elsewhere, a young Gambian writer, Alassane Jatta, has formally launched his first book titled The Adopted Child at a colorful ceremony graced by members of the Writers Association of the Gambia in Kaur in the Central River region. Amadou Lamine Sane covered the event, and he now tells us more.
Everything about this book, titled The Adopted Child, began here in Kaur. Once a native of the village, the author, who lived with a lifetime memory, as captured in the masterpiece.
This book is born today globally. It's going to be read throughout the whole world. Therefore, in my capacity as guest speaker of this prestigious occasion, I officially declare the book entitled The Adopted Child by Mr. Alassane Jatta officially launched.
That is what brought back young writer Alassane Jatta to formally launch a write-up worth $250 per copy, as the Writers Association recognized the first ever written by the gentleman.
Since I got the inspiration in Kauri, it was an honor for me to bring the launching back to Kaur Danimayo. What brought the title The Adopted Child? There were a couple who got married. For almost more than 5 years, they couldn't have a child. That is what brought the book, The Adopted Child.
Coming down here to unveil this book is seen as a good move that intends to inspire young writers and encourage reading in this part of the country.
We may not need a dictionary beside us while reading this book. It is a direct conversation between the author, the writer, and then the readers. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, I believe this is a material for us, most especially for the students. I hope that in the near future, the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education will approve this book as a supplementary reading material for both junior and senior secondary schools.
Encouraging local writers is one step that seeks to better explain stories promoting Gambian history.
The African continent is rich with culture and is with diverse ethnic groups. If you do not write your own story, mark you, other people are going to write it for you. And you know, if other people write your story, they will not write it as good as you yourself.
The official launching was accorded with cultural performance by the students of Kaur Senior Secondary School, giving the ceremony a true picture of Gambian history which embeds culture. Mood Lamin Sane reporting for GRTS News from the Central River region.
Well, time now to take a look at the weather report, courtesy of the Central Forecast Office. If there is, we'll take a quick break. When we return, we'll take a look at news beyond our shores. To stay with us. Welcome back, and we'll take a look at some sports news instead. And in volleyball, as Olympic Africa of Serekunda East has clinched the Senegambia Volleyball Club Championship title after defeating their counterparts Asfa of Senegal 3-0 in a final played at the Independence Stadium in Banjul. The championship, which was the third edition, brought together teams from Senegal and the Gambia. Olympic Africa, who won the first edition and finished as runners-up in the second edition again, proved their status as one of the most outstanding volleyball teams across the sub-region, with their second title in their third attempt in a final graced by scores of spectators, including the Gambia's Minister of Youth and Sports, Bakari Bashi. All time now to take our second break. When we return, we'll take a look at what else is making headline news around the world. Do stay with us. Welcome back. And as the United Nations member countries make a landmark declaration on halting of plastic pollution, at the Kenyan coast, the people are trying to stop the flow of plastic waste products into the ocean. Now, teams from nearby communities collect garbage from the ocean shores for recycling, but more is yet to be done. Details of that in the CGTN News report.
A single piece of garbage floating in the ocean is just one chapter in the story of the ocean's plastic pollution problem. Across Africa, plastics are entering oceans at an unprecedented rate. Their durability, the very factor that made them attractive in the beginning, now poses the biggest threat. This neighborhood in Likoni along Kenya's coast overlooks the Indian Ocean. What started as a little village dump site outside has turned into a massive environmental threat.
Shida ni mahali pa kupeleka takataka ndio pamekuwa.
The problem is sometimes we don't have a place to dispose the waste nearby. The nearest area is quite far, so people end up just dumping their waste.
Sasa hawa watu huku magari mengine.
Food wrappers, plastic bottles, bottle caps, and bags are some of the most common plastic waste items. As awareness about the impact of plastic pollution continues to grow at the Kenyan coast, several small groups gather every so often in order to clean beaches such as this one.
We collect different types of plastic, hard, soft, and sort them. We take them to a storage area and later we sell them.
But every day the ocean spits out even more plastic waste, blown by winds from other regions. Asma Awad knows only too well the impact of the global plastics problem.
So plastic is a versatile product that was easily manufactured, easily available, cheap to buy and cheap to discard.
Her organization teaches locals about the dangers of plastic waste. Of the 7 billion tons of plastic waste generated globally so far, less than 10% has been recycled. It is estimated that between 75 and 199 million tons of plastic is currently in oceans across the world. How did it get there? Environmentalists say a lot of it comes from rivers, which ferry and deposit trash into lakes and the ocean.
So if it's not properly managed from source, which is manufacturers or even households and estates upcountry, it combines with what we already have from our own manufacturers in the coast and our own households, and all of it piles up. All of it piles up into the Indian Ocean.
Most plastic items never fully disappear, lasting even up to 400 years. Big pieces choke and poison marine animals. The rest break down into smaller pieces that can enter the human body through inhalation. A UNEP report warns that if the current trend continues, there will be more plastic than fish by 2050. So what can the public do? 34 African countries have moved to ban plastics, with varying levels of success. Conservationists also want manufacturers to slow down and ensure that the plastic that already exists is recycled and circulated in the economy for as long as possible.
With businesses, we are working to close the tap. What we mean is the reduction of manufacturing of plastics, to encourage alternatives to plastics.
Taka ni rasilimali iliyokuwa pabaya.
Garbage is a resource that has been misplaced. Once it's sorted and placed in the right space, then it's a resource that can help improve livelihoods.
Thank you very much.
Earlier in the year, 175 countries endorsed a resolution to forge an international, legally binding agreement to end plastic pollution. It addresses the full life cycle of plastic, including its production, design, and disposal. It's just one step, but every move is another step towards ending plastic pollution. Wilkes Anyabwa, CGTN.
And elsewhere, Kenya's tourism sector is witnessing a gradual comeback after the pandemic-induced slump that led to closure of some hotels in the coastal city of Mombasa. In a bid to accelerate the growth of the industry, Kenyan authorities have launched a new strategy that seeks to diversify the country's tourism industry. CGTN has more on that.
The hotel industry in Kenya is slowly getting back to its feet after the COVID-19 downturn led to thousands of job losses for people working in the sector. Many of the hotels in Kenya's coastal city of Mombasa are now building resilient structures to avoid another pandemic shock.
It's been a tough road. I don't think we're entirely out of the woods, but I do say that 2022 has been quite promising. We do estimate as a country that we will pass the 1 million mark when it comes to international arrivals. These are figures quoted by the Kenya Tourism Board and the Ministry of Tourism. We did see pre-pandemic 2019, we did see international arrivals cross the 2 million mark. So we do expect 2022 will at least be half of that. And going forward, we do see that there is going to be a lot more stability.
Kenya's Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife is now on a mission to diversify the country's tourism offering, moving away from dependence on safari and beach tourism. Dubbed the new vision for Kenya's tourism, the strategy will provide a roadmap for the sector and will shape the future of Kenya's tourism industry by providing a framework that details how to successfully develop sustainable tourism in Kenya.
And Kenya is not different, but we have also gone and become innovative in product development as well in marketing. But we have marketed in the domestic market, so domestic market has really boosted us up. But also we still want international markets. So what we are doing is that we are making it easier for people to travel into the country. We are open, we are safe. All our workers in the hotel industry are vaccinated. And then also we put the requirement very simple. you have a double vaccination, and you have a PCR test negative, you're allowed to come in.
Regionally, the first 2022 issue of the World Tourism Barometer revealed that Africa saw a 12% increase in arrivals in 2021 compared to 2020, though this is still 74% below 2019. Change of tact in hotel management has been key despite the pandemic still wreaking havoc in some countries.
A lesson to learn for hoteliers, a lesson for businesses to basically run more efficiently, run leaner organizations, to find new ways of working. And also upgrading and refurbishing your product. I think that was what was key. And I think the people who had the long-term vision post the pandemic managed to use the time that they were closed to improve their product. And as they started opening up, we started seeing business trickling in.
For the better part of 2 years, Kenya was under a partial lockdown and a national nighttime curfew, which made it difficult for travelers to visit the country's tourist spots. Nick Mudimba, CGTN, Nairobi, Kenya.
And to end this edition of the news, a recap of our top stories once again. His Excellency President Adama Barrow has wrapped up his 4-day visit to Equatorial Guinea with the signing of 4 bilateral agreements with his counterpart, President Obiang Nguema Mbasango. The Gambia's Foreign Affairs Ministry has announced the release and handing over of 12 Gambians to the Gambian Association in Libya after serving 1-year jail term. The Gambia Standards Bureau has inaugurated a technical subcommittee with a mandate to develop standards on onion, sweet potato, tomato, and chili pepper. And in sports, Olympic Africa of Serekunda East has clinched the Senegambia Volleyball Club Championship title after defeating their counterparts as far as Senegal 3-0 at a final played in Banjul. And elsewhere, Kenya's coastal communities are trying to stop the flow of plastic waste along the shores of the ocean. Well, that's it from me, Fatu Janimbai, and the entire news team. Many thanks for watching. Good night.